Yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a tutti.
What's up, Juventini? Welcome back to the AJC. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you're tuning in from. All right, and we are going to cover the latest round of news surrounding Juventus in the Mercato, and we're going to cover a lot more beyond that and have a lot of fun. All right, as you can see, Omer is with me. Omer, how are you doing, my man?
I'm great. Ciao, everyone.
There
Great
we
to be here
go.
again.
We're going to say what's up to everybody in the live chat. But as you guys could see, we got a little bit of vacancy here today. There's a little bit of space here. We got to bring somebody on. And it's not just going to be anybody. All right. But we've got a new member of the AJC team. All right. We're extremely happy to welcome a new member. It's been a while since we had our last member join. We believe it was Joe Cappuccino that was the last one. So after that appointment, we really had to step it up because, no offense to Joe, but we got to go a little bit. We got to bring a little more, right, Omer? We got to bring a little bit more.
It's been 2 years, I believe, since Joe.
Yeah.
Too long.
And Joe puts pineapple on pizza, for Christ's sake. So we got to step it up a notch, okay? We got to step it up a notch. We got our newest team member, and we love Joe Cappuccino. I know he's going to tune in and be like, guys, catching strays for no reason. Yes, he is. But the newest member of the AJC team, who we're extremely happy to welcome aboard, is our boy. You'll all know him from the chat, all right? Longtime member here around the AJC, and that is Mr. Anthony Trimboli. And here he is.
Hey, what's going on?
Harlan, what is going on, my man? Welcome aboard officially. And you've been on the show before, but now as a cast member, we're extremely happy to welcome you aboard, my man, and ready to have some fun.
Thank you both, Omar and Berto. Appreciate it. And man, I just really, it's an honor to join this special group. So, just chat about Juve, and I hope to bring a little something different. So again, appreciate it.
There we go, man. There we go. And with that, we can fire away. We're gonna say what's up to everybody in the chat here, okay? And Forza Juve coming out here saying that the Mercato has to be the most exciting, promising one in 5 years. Giuntoli seems to know exactly what he's doing, and the rumors are often bargains. Luiz, Griezmann, Zegrova, Thuram, etc. So very excited there, and finally feel like we have an idea. Bravo, Giuntoli. We're going to get into that. We're definitely going to get into that. We're going to say what's up to everybody in the AJC Army. We got Calcio with Reno Z watching with Orazio, the baby boy. Big congratulations going out to our friend Reno on the birth of his son, Orazio. All right, so congratulations again, brother. We got 7 here. Morning. Oh, I think this is a special someone too there, Anthony. Look at that. Pumped.
Thank you. That's my sister, everybody.
There you go, Vincenzo G. Hey, guys, we got Norbert, who, by the way, big shout out to Norbert, who put together a fantastic list and shared it with me. That is actually all the remaining values on our players. And then we have an idea of what we could be looking at in terms of capital based on sales. So massive thank you to him for sharing that with me. Much appreciated, all right? And everybody else in here, all right? Without further ado, let's just get into it and rock and roll. Yesterday we had the Champions League final, all right? And Madrid taking in the we got Nacho with 6. Is he on 6? Nacho?
Yeah.
Fuck, we got Buffon and R9 without a 1 to their name, and we got a Nacho with 6. Unreal.
Well, we were familiar with it. I mean, you can always make the comparison between Pinsoglio and Totti for a number of Scudettos and whatever.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But what did you guys think of that final? And let's kick things off with our new man, Trim. What did you think of that final?
Well, it was pretty funny because I was following along in our group chat, the members only chat, which, by the way, everybody, whoever's a member, definitely get in there. It's pretty funny. We mix it up and we have a good time talk about everything. So we were going through it, and one of the members mentioned, he's like, "Okay, this is how it's going to start off. Dortmund's going to get about a half dozen chances. If they can't even manage to put one in the net, Madrid's going to get one opportunity. That's all it takes, and it's going in the back of the net." And then, sure enough, you see wave after wave after wave of Dortmund pressure. They just can't seem to get their boot behind it to get in the back of the net. Adeyemi had a couple chances, full
Yeah.
Krug, and then just couldn't bury. And then Madrid gets 1-2 chances. It's in the back of the net. It's 2-0. And
Shout
it's
out
over,
to
man. It's
another
just,
Anthony. He pretty much called
yeah.
that game to a T. Azzurri Juve there in our
Yeah.
members chat. Yeah, he nailed it spot on, and you could feel it. You could feel it. Way too many chances, and you're not burying one of those. Eventually, Madrid will be Madrid and strike. But Omer, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's super frustrating. All they need is 5 minutes. They can be
Yeah.
shit for 80, but 5 minutes is enough to win whatever. To tell you that I'm excited, nah, to be honest, I find it kind of boring. Because Champions League in recent years it's always an underdog situation in the final, and the underdog never wins. So it became kind of predictable, and I don't enjoy it as much as I did in the past, but still, congrats to Madrid. That's phenomenal. I mean, how nice is it to expect your team to win the final?
It
It's absolutely phenomenal, and they're great. I mean, Ancelotti, he did one change after he couldn't break through in the first half. He just moved Valverde back to the
yeah,
center, and that's it. He solved it.
yeah,
That's the kind of stuff you want to see from your manager. Little tweaks that change the entire game. So
yeah.
congrats
And
to Madrid for
Cruz
Dortmund.
spoke to it after, and Cruz's trophy haul too. Like the guy still got a ton of football there, but he calls it. I did feel bad for Marco Reus though. Like I mean, you get subbed in and you see 2 goals in 10 minutes like allowed, and it's just like what an ending for that guy. It's pretty rough there, but again for Cruz, what a way to go out. Modric set to stay here, and the rich get richer because the inevitability that we were all waiting for, Mbappe. Not really this here you go moment, but it's gonna go down and it's gonna be even more ridiculous. But I absolutely wanted Dortmund to take that one because these teams that are like these feeders, stepping stone clubs, etc. Like they really need that. One of these teams needs that sooner or later to just kind of like just I don't know, give you that feeling, give you that hope, I guess, for like all these other clubs that like you can still get it done. You can still, and even making the final for Dortmund is huge, but it's such a grind, and to not get that payoff, nobody's gonna think about that in a year's time, 2 years time. It's like, hey, Dortmund made that final. Nobody's gonna think about it. Nobody's gonna care, and
And
that's
now
unfortunate.
they're getting Mbappe too,
Yeah, I know.
which I actually think it's bad for them, to be completely honest. Because I mean, everything is working. You're winning titles left, right, and center, and Mbappe is like a spicy sauce. You know, the right amount can make a great sandwich. Too much can ruin an entire sandwich. And Mbappe is, a lot to take in with all of his PR and everything. And I don't think it will do good for them, especially if Ancelotti
Well,
leaves. That's a hell of a dressing room for a new manager.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, so I'm curious, like, is there enough ball to go around for all these guys too? Like, now we're
Yeah,
gonna see
you
what
mean
happens with Rodrigo. Like, I know there's rumors about him potentially leaving. Like, is he gonna want to stick around, and how are they gonna make it all work? So, like, that side of it, I'm actually really intrigued by. But I kind of agree with you, Omar. I'm curious to see what happens because you bring in a big personality like that. We'll see if they can make it work.
yeah,
I can't,
they
I
need
can't.
like a football pitch and 10 balls to play to show how good everyone is.
I think
Yeah.
it's gonna. I can't see it not working. Like I just can't, man.
No,
Like
I know. Yeah.
they'll find a way. There's too much class on that team and whatnot, and everybody will figure out their roles, and Mbappe will find his, and he'll destroy. He'll destroy.
Man.
I have no doubts about it, and I think they're gonna add Alphonso Davies as well too. So it's just like the rich get richer, man. But we got to worry about ourselves, and we got to talk about the Mercato. And the latest rumors, it's all around this midfield, and the midfield's getting interesting for Juventus and what could happen. So Rabiot, we get word that the renewal offer is there for him. 2-year contract, a 3rd year. Apparently not really technically an option. One term we've become familiar with, automatic renewal.
Oh.
All right. So there are conditions apparently that are added there that will make that 3rd year an automatic renewal. It is at 7.5 million euros. And in the background, we keep hearing that Coop Miners is a main target. Okay. Main target, and the Juve is going to push. Just the other day, we get the word that the alternative could be Guendouzi. And this is perfect for me because it's been saying what I've been saying for a while. Yes, I did present a scenario that for the money we could be splashing on Coop Miners, you could go a different route, which would be looking at it as like a strength in numbers type thing with Ederson, Samardžić, Thuram, etc. But the more I start looking at this, and I start looking at this team, and, you know, Coop Miners for me, I'm not really feeling the crazy outrage. At the start of the year, I didn't like that price tag for him. But honestly, watching him through this year, and he is like literally right there next to Çalhanoğlu this season in Serie, 60 is a fair price for that player, in my personal opinion. I think it's fair if you're talking top players in their respective leagues, and his top 5 leagues in Europe and Serie. Yes, I'm going to say 60 is fair value for him. If we are looking at selling young prospects that still have a lot to prove for 35 to 40, I am going to say that one of the best in their positions respectively in the league is, yes, going to be worth 15 to 20 million on top of that. 70 is where we start to get a little like, okay, no. But 60 for me is fair. Coop Miners continues to be this main guy. Guendouzi, this is what I'm talking about. The drop off outside of Coop with the target names that we've had is significant. It's significant. Khéphren Thuram is a talented player, but he is not the offensive guy. He's not that guy. Samardžić is an offensive minded midfielder, but he doesn't have, you know, what Coop's got to him in terms of the results, in terms of the production, whatnot. I guess, yes, you could bring up Atalanta versus Udinese, which was a horror show this season. But still, there's questions left to be answered by Samardžić. Coop's a safer bet. Yeah, there's a big drop-off there. And for me, this team has to make some type of statement, and especially in the midfield. I think you gotta go for Coop. You have to push for Coop. My fear is that the Rabiot renewal, because we have to work in the free agency as well, I think Rabiot knocks off the less expensive options like Thuram and Samardžić, etc. Where are you guys at on the Coop Miner push that apparently is coming from Juntali? And where are you at on this Rabiot renewal? And we're going to kick this one off with Omer.
Well, the Rabiot renewal, I know I'm going to get angry in 2.5 years when that automatic renewal kicks in. So I got that to look forward to. And yeah, what can I say? I want him out. Apparently, Motta wants him in. I said before that whoever the coach is, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving him time to implement what he does. So I'll ride it out with the new manager and see what he can make Rabiot do. I hope he plays him in a different position and not as the creative offensive midfielder. But yeah, it is what it is. It seems like he'll never go away. Guendouzi, first of all, I'm not buying it at all because they just lost Kamada. They lost SMS last season. Luis Alberto is not staying. I don't see them buying 2 more midfielders instead of them. So I think he'll stay there, and I don't want him. I don't think he's good enough. He's never been impressive, not at Arsenal and not at Lazio. Beyond that, what was the other one? Coop Miners. I still feel like the 60 million price tag is not intended for Serie A. I think it's some Premier League club who that's what they're expecting, some Premier League club to come in and pay that price. But we got caught in the middle and we want him. Apparently, he wants to come to Juve. It seems like it's a well-known fact by now. They even sang on the bus. The room sang with the Wisdom jumping is a Juventino, and he said, "Look, Coop doesn't jump." So yeah, and I don't know. It is what it is. Okay, 60, fine. Don't go above that. I guess they find some sort of formula like 40 and the rest in bonuses or whatever. Um, but yeah, all in all, he is a good player. He is one of the best midfielders in the league, and he can definitely improve our midfield. So 60 it is. Whatever. Just get it done before the Euros, before the price goes up again.
Yeah, and that's a big ticket on this one. So, Trim, Coop, make the push or move a different route, and Rabiot renewal. Where are you at on those?
So for me with Coop, I've been all in since day one, so that won't change. I really feel like he should be our main target for this Mercato. Like I know some would argue that Calafiore is the main target, but for me it's Coop because he makes the biggest difference in a position of need that
Yeah.
we've been needing help in for a long time. So for me, I'm all in. The price, we can look at it so many different ways. I don't necessarily buy in with this particular player about the Atalanta system and this and that. I know there's been comments in the comment section
Yep.
about that and stuff. Like just purely on eye test, you can tell when there's a system lifting up a player and when a player just flat out got it. That's just me. I don't know. That's just what I've noticed. So for me, I'm all in on Coop. Rabiot renewal, this one, honestly, I've been kind of going both back and forth in my head. Like part of me, it's like, no, my heart tells me no. I don't want him back here. I think we can easily find a replacement that can do and bring the same qualities that he has, whether it's a Turam or somebody else in that position, because he's basically going to be a holding midfielder while we try to attain Coop, who's going to be that more offensive guy to push and help the offense. But at the same time, I can kind of understand it from the aspect that Omar said. If Motta comes in, Motta wants him, it's his guy, then we got to try to put as much faith and trust in our new manager to see, okay, he sees the qualities that maybe Allegri saw different qualities in Rabiot to try to utilize him in one way, while Motta's going to try to use him in a different way. So
Yeah.
as a 2-year bridge gap, I can see it working. That automatic renewal for the third year, like Omar said, I will pull my hair out. There's no way I'm not going to like that at all.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to wait and see if they come to an agreement. But the biggest thing with Rabiot, and I mentioned this, I think in our group chat, and I know you guys have mentioned this too, has there ever been an offer from another team, even dating back to last summer? I don't know of any actual offer from another team saying, we've offered a contract to Rabiot or we've offered him whatever, right? Like a fee, let's say, to
I
Juve. In
can't
this case, he's free. So
I can't recall. Like I want to say like I want to say there was one or something, but like I
I
don't
think it might have
actually
been
think
Man
so.
U.
I think it was
Yeah.
all this like we were getting the buzz, and then we felt like when he renewed again for 1 year, we felt like all that was to get more or something out of Juventus, because we're like, well, where are these teams? Like, where are these teams? Where are these actual like teams coming in? Same with this year. Like, we're hearing Bayern Munich from Mirko Di Natale is like seriously looking at him and everything, but like, are they? Are they going to make that move? Sure. We'll have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, like, if Rabiot like, there's two things, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, if Motta wants Rabiot, okay, and we are gonna have to utilize free agency, if that also makes you able to make a splash on the best possible midfielder that you have targeted in Coop,
Right.
then I'm essentially fine with it. But overall, I would like us to see a go another route. But if the money can't make that happen, then I would bring in Coop Miners. And if Motta wants Rabiot, then okay, and he's willing to renew. But it's it's tough.
Look,
It's still tough for me at that salary because I feel
Yeah.
like we're paying, and we might bring this up because Sev and I on Chiesa have been going at it for a couple days because it's just like it comes to a production thing, and what are you paying for? If Rabiot wants to be at 7.5 net, like I'm sorry, but I need more than to just hear about intangibles. I need more for that type of money. That's all I'm saying. So for me, it's really the salary that kills me. But
let let's look at the flip side. Like he's been on his last year of contract for 2 seasons now, so clubs wouldn't approach to buy him because they can get him for free if they want. But like you said,
Yeah.
there hadn't been any concrete offers, only interest from other clubs. But renew him like that, if he does have a good season, suddenly offers can come in, and we can sell him, actually sell him next summer if he does have a good season. So there's a risk here. I'm willing to ride it out with Motta and see what he can get out of Rabiot. Because I do believe that Deschamps has gotten more out of Rabiot for the national team than Allegri got out of him for Juve.
Yeah, that's.
yeah,
I was
it's
just
gonna.
gonna kind of close it off with that one little thing. Like Norbert made a good point. I think it was more the way Allegri was using him. He said the problem was Allegri, in my opinion. I agree. I think it was that too. Under a different manager, who knows,
Yeah.
right?
So we will see. But like I said, if Motta ultimately wants him, it saves us money in the Mercato to spread out elsewhere, and he's seen as an addition this year as a free agent, and we bring in Coop, then okay, because we can form up a decent midfield with the group. Fagioli, Coop Miners can literally play anywhere in the middle of the park. You've got Locatelli. Now you could probably look at a two-man pivot, which should help him. Adrian Rabiot can play a two-man pivot. Has done so occasionally with Locatelli, and it looked good. And I was screaming from the mountaintops, let's keep riding this thing. But Massimiliano had other plans. But the midfield, not done there. Apparently, this Douglas Luiz thing that came out of nowhere, out of the blue. Douglas Luiz, Sule and Mckennie interested. Villa's interested in them, but now all of a sudden it's working its way into Mckennie and Luiz as this move, and maybe a little bit of money on top to bring in Douglas Luiz. Well, guys, how do we feel about Douglas Luiz? Chat. Trim, Douglas Luiz, where are you at with this one?
Oh, I think he's a good player, but I thought it was a little overboard when I was reading the headlines and they're saying Sule and McKennie. I'm like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, let's pump the brakes here a bit. I'm like, maybe you do like a sale for Sule to Villa, and then that will help us get the swap for Louise and McKennie. But like his value is, I think, a little too inflated. Like, yeah, I would agree with Forza Juve. Like, I think it's McKennie and a small fee to make that happen. You know, like what his value to me shouldn't be more than like 40 million euros. Louise, like I've heard something like upwards of 60, and I know you mentioned it in the daily. It's like the Premier League tax or whatnot, but
Yeah.
I don't know. For a player of like his stature, his age, he's 26, so he's still relatively young. Like, see, this is the thing though. We get Douglas Luiz, Rabiot's out the door because he plays Rabiot's position or can play that position. And in my opinion, I kind of would rather see Douglas Luiz in that spot as like my first option, or maybe actually second option. I like Turan better, but anyway, that's just me.
Yeah. Omer, Douglas Luiz, where are you at on this one?
It is an interesting signing. I mean, his numbers are solid. He had like, I'm looking at it now, 10 assists and 10 goals this season. Previous
Wow.
season, he
Yeah.
had 13 goals and assists combined. So his numbers are solid. He's 26, like Tony mentioned. So that's like prime age to get a player. That's when he should be at his highest value. But for McKennie and an extra 10 million, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great deal. McKennie seems like he's nearing the door more and more with the reports and everything. So we do have to kind of replace him. And again, we have like a million games next season, so
Yeah.
whatever depth we can get, it's great. I like that signing. I like that.
And before I get into my thoughts on this one, guys, reminder, get those likes in, all right? Get those likes up right now. So, Mckennie, the kicker here is, and going back to the Rabiot thing, and I see our boy Seven here agreeing, saying hard no for Rabiot. Agree with Trim. A lot of other midfielders we can get for that price or even less. Well, hold on a second. And this is why I'm going to say, number one, depends what Motta wants, okay? Number two, the money. If Weston McKennie is thrown in this deal and his value is at 25 million euros, okay? Again, massive thank you to Norbert. This list is fantastic, okay? McKennie stands us around, 5 million, okay? 5.2, let's call it, if we round up. So it's
Nice.
the capital that you gain on the books for him in that swap, and you're throwing in 10 million, which is less, significantly less than Thuram or Samardžić, and you're bringing in Douglas Luiz, different style midfielder than Samardžić, similar to Thuram with better production, okay? Better production. This is a steal of a deal, in my personal opinion, and I would be absolutely all over it. So all of a sudden, those start to fall in line and make a lot of sense. Renew Rabiot, that's a key to bringing in Coop. You want to move McKennie anyways, and now you get Douglas Luiz. Like, that all of a sudden is really, really good and shaping up a solid group in the middle of the park, if you ask me. If we're looking at Rabiot, Locatelli, Coop Miners, Douglas Luiz, Fagioli, I'd be happy with that midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds
I
good.
agree. And then what do? You just alternate games, double pivot, Luiz Rabiot, Luiz Locatelli, Locatelli Rabiot. I guess that's just kind of how you pitch them out there. And
The
Fagioli
one
and Coop
thing
up
I
top.
can think of about that group in comparison to this past season is flexibility.
Right.
Flexibility. Trim and I were talking about this the other day. You've seen Motta shift into two different styles through this season based on who is playing. Sometimes it was a 4-1-4-1, okay, where he'd have two mids ahead of one deep lying, and then most of the time you'd get that two-man pivot. But he would have such freedom with that group. I'd be all for that. That's actually rounding up pretty decent. But I get it, because ultimately, and I'm the same, you're thinking Rabiot, 2-year renewal, automatic, third. But when you look at it in this way, for us in our Mercato and where we could be heading, it's starting to make a lot of sense. It's starting to make a lot of sense if these go through, but these are options. Of course, we're still a ways away from this window opening up, but overall, with these types of rumors, like, I actually do like where things are shifting. Like, I kind of like that there's a lot out there for us, because it can go multiple different ways. We saw the first comment of this show from Forza Juve stating how excited he was for the Mercato in general, but he feels like all the options there are just showing, and the fact that we don't know what Giuntoli is going to do, but it's exciting. Do you guys share that excitement right now in this Mercato going into it with Giuntoli and Motta, etc., and the options so far? Or where are you? Are you still skeptical? Do you think like it's going to come out and be disappointing? Like, what are you thinking it's going to shape up like? Let's get
Well,
Omer.
even before we mentioned any names, we knew that. I mean, we're not going to buy anyone who's like top tier in football. So right from the get go, my expectations were pretty low. But the names popping up right now give a lot of interesting options, a lot of interesting ways to play. Like you said, flexibility will be a key factor. And I feel like we have, if that's what's going down eventually, I feel like we have tons of options and tons of way to play, and everyone will get enough minutes to show what they're worth. And I mean, a lot of utility players, but we shouldn't like focus solely on the midfield. We should get those deals wrapped up as quick as possible because we have other areas that we need to take care of. I don't want to get hung up on the midfield till like August and then start, buying who's ever left.
Yeah. Trim?
Yeah, like I mean, okay, so for starters, in general with this Mercato, it's more exciting because everything around the club is different. There's a change in the air. We finally got like the new pieces for the new management finally in play. Because last year, Juntali was held hostage by De Laurentiis until what, July 15th before he let him come to us. So we couldn't
Yeah.
even start a Mercato last summer. That with the finances. Okay, so we've got Juntali working his magic. We've got potential new coach announcement either tomorrow or Tuesday. Hopefully, early this week, get that wrapped up. So in general, we're more excited. And I think also because we actually have financial flexibility this season coming up to actually go out and spend. But in terms of the names out there, yeah, for me, it's just going to come down to start from the top. Whoever you want to prioritize as your main targets, you work on those. And I'm sure Junfili's been doing that. You work on those and you push hard to get those guys done ASAP, like Omar mentioned, because we can't let this drag out till August. Start getting those deals done. And I think that's also what's exciting about it is you can see Juntali's putting kind of the feet to the fire of these teams and these players and say, look, I want to wrap this all up now. So that way, when we come back from Euros, we're ready to rock and just go from there. And then you maybe pluck some players and put them into places that you're missing and you're lacking in certain areas for depth and just go from there. But basically for me, it's like start from the top, get those A targets if you can, and then work your way down, especially in the midfield.
The biggest thing for me is looking at these rumors, etc., and whatnot, and why I get pumped on like a Mckennie Luiz swap is because whatever helps us keeping our key guys and not selling them. So even with Coop Miners, if you can bring in Coop Miners, and even reluctantly for me, you have to sell Huijsen. Like, I'm all for it. If you keep Vlahovic, Bremer, Chiesa going into next season, and that's another exciting thing for me is that Motta, apparently, it's like, no. Like, Bremer's staying for sure this season. We'll figure out what happens on that, release clause the next season beyond. But the Dusan Vlahovic one, we are getting news that it's him or Zirkzee. It's not going to be like a two. It's not going to be the two of them. You can't do it. And that makes no sense because if you're going to open up that competition and say all of a sudden Zirkzee starts to win it, you're telling me a guy that's about to be on 12 mil is going to be a bench player for you? No. So it's one or the other. And to be honest, let's take it to the chat and let's say, you could work the options. Don't worry about the finances. Don't worry about all the logistics of it. But let's say you go into next season, you have to pick one of those guys. I just want to know, who are you taking into next season? Vlahovic or Zirkzee, given the choice? And we're going to put the newest member on the spot first off the panel with Trim.
Okay, well, it's actually, for me, it's pretty easy. It's a lot easier than I thought, but it's a no-brainer. You keep Vlahovic. Even at that wage or that salary, I don't care. Like Skanga said, and I've been hearing it, he's been beating that drum, pay the man his money. I don't care if it's 15, 20 million. He's worth every penny. He's ours. You pay him, and that's it.
Yeah. Omer, look at the chat. This is unanimous, and I'm with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, am I going to be the asshole?
Yes, do it.
No. But that wouldn't be, fair for me because I would keep Vlahovic. I don't see. I mean, Zirkzee is really promising. He had one great season, but it take a splash of money to bring him in and selling Vlahovic. I don't know. I'm not. I don't want him that much.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, I'm. It's Dusan for me. I know that there's the money issue there, but you know what? Let's see if we can work something out there and get that sorted out. But Zirkzee, there's question marks there too. Great, fantastic season for him, but there is a little bit of a curiosity I have in Vlahovic and the way Motta's system plays out. But he made huge strides under Max in his hold-up game. If you guys remember his hold-up game to where it was like now, especially 2024 calendar year, it's night and day to what we were getting around the beginning, and then obviously throughout even earlier half of the season, whatnot. So for me, I'm gonna say that like I'm curious about it, but I have faith that Dušan's gonna just be a beast for us. And again, I think everything's gonna ramp up. If you look at Motta and the way he plays and the theory behind it, the thought process and everything, essentially chances should go up. The wingers should be able to feast. That's why I say like guys are going to be on make or break. Chiesa's going to be on a make or break. Locatelli's going to be on a make or break. But I think these guys are going to thrive. But I think there's going to be growing pains. You've got 3 years of bad habits trying to come out, and I'm not expecting it to be like, hey, you know, we snap our fingers in the opening month of Serie and we're just rolling and Motta ball's killing it. I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting some growing pains in terms of play, but I think these guys will thrive.
On the other hand, Montero changed a few things, no tactical, no nothing, just placed the players differently, and we already saw a change. So after a full summer of training, the players will probably buy into it and what Motta's ideas are. I do believe we'll see an immediate shift in like approach and mentality and other stuff like that. Personal improvement, that's further down the line, but the approach should be different right from the get-go.
So the poll, move Vlahovic, bring in Zirkzee. Yes to moving Vlahovic, 17%. 83% saying no. We move with Dušan. So there you go there. I do see our friend Joe Cappuccino saying I'd take Morata back. So there has been loose rumors on Alvaro Morata. 12 mil clause or something. But I'll tell you right now, if there's any truth to the clause on Antoine Griezmann for 15 million euros, you make every single push forward you can for Antoine Griezmann at 15. Yes. But I don't believe it. But I would
everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Just bring Griezmann.
You would have to though. You would have to. If you were like a club like us, like any of these top clubs, whatever, you absolutely do everything in your power to try and sign that player if that is 100% true. If he comes up with a clause that he's available at 15 million euros, I don't want to hear shit about salary, anything like that. Sandro just left and that opens up 11 mil on salary. I would easily say, here you go, Grease. Come in. We'll throw bonuses on top of that. That guy can play anywhere. He's still class. I had doubts about him earlier on, and all he did was prove me wrong every single damn season that this guy played. All in, if that was true. All right, if that was true. But it's just, that's a no-brainer for me. You guys feel the same way?
Yeah, that's like top 15 player in the world. I mean, if we have any chance to bring him in, yeah, absolutely, and make him play the way he played in the last World Cup, when he was sort of a midfielder and less of an attacker, he was brilliant. Yeah, he was phenomenal. It was fun to watch. He was everywhere. So yeah, that's a no-brainer. If Griezmann,
that's not for everybody. Mark wouldn't touch Griezmann. There you go. There you go. Hey, that's what it's all about. Disagreements will happen. It's okay. Depay on a free trim.
Depay on a free, no. I like, if I had to choose him or Griezmann, I'd go Griezmann, but not Depay. No, I think that ship has sailed. Wasn't that the rumor in like 2015, 16 season, or no, actually, sorry, 2019, 20, like around there? He was rumored to come to Juve as on a free before he went to Atletico. So no, I'd say no to Depay personally.
Norbert, look at that. Raising my level of belief here. The value left on the books for them is 50 million, so we think it could be realistic. Ooh. Woo. Hummels to Juve, Adam. Come on,
Oh,
man. Come on, man. This guy every day in the members chat with this Hummels thing, okay? Reminder, everybody, get the likes up. We got to get into left backs, everybody. So left backs. Not just left backs, full backs, sorry. Full backs in general. So we do have a list. Dorgu, impressive debut season with Lecce. You have Kutu, you have Mazraoui, and this whole Di Lorenzo thing. Let the games begin, baby, with Di Lorenzo. All right. So we have his representation coming out saying, look, he wants out, like it's done. He has let Napoli know he wants out and he wants to make a move. Giuntoli, obviously, being rumored to be all over that. We are hearing that there's been constant contacts. Okay, we heard about a WhatsApp chat with frickin' Thiago Motta and Di Lorenzo, for Christ's sake. But Napoli comes out with a statement. Absolutely not. He will not be moved this summer. He will be retained for this season. We keep hearing Antonio Conte, who, by the way, we should probably touch on that a bit, is going to be joining Napoli. And he's saying no, he does not want to see the player leave. I've seen a mix on out there on social media with the fan base and everything, but this is what the polls are for. So I will fire a poll question out here for Di Lorenzo, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on where you stand out of these fullbacks and where you rank Di Lorenzo on our target list, and if we should make a push. Rumored price somewhere around 20 mil to 25 mil. Do we make that push? We're going to start with Omer.
I've talked about Di Lorenzo a lot, so I leave it to Trim. I'm all for that deal. I think that would be good for Juve. And two other names doesn't really excite me, like someone mentioned here. Couto is part of the City group, and so it probably won't be cheap. They're still going to the Champions League, so I'm not sure they'll let him go that easily. Dorgu, I would go for Coyote from Fiorentina. But the fact we have Cambiasso who can play on both sides really opens up options because we don't
Yeah.
need specific right back or left back. Any fullback will do fine, and Cambiasso can fill in the other role. But I don't see De Laurentiis. I mean, I don't like giving money to De Laurentiis, and he'll probably have like a statement. I'd sell him to anyone but Juve.
Well,
And
but the guy's a clown show. I also remember,
he is,
if I knew Giuntoli was such a Juventino, I wouldn't hire him. Well, who did you just hire? Mana and
yeah,
Conte.
yeah,
Listen, you're a mutt. But,
yeah. He's a clown.
oh, huge clown.
No, it's just they're getting torn apart right now because Osimhen is probably going to the Premier League. Paris Saint-Germain had an offer of like 5 million to Kvaratskhelia, more than what Napoli offered him. Zielinski is already out now. Di Lorenzo, Kim Min Jae last season. They are losing all of their top players. So giving up Di Lorenzo just because he doesn't want to be here and for a low price, I don't see it happening.
Yeah. It feels like the same thing with Luis Alberto, just because he comes out, says he wants to leave and everything and all this. You've got
Yeah,
Lotito.
those
You got one
Italians are
shithead to
stubborn.
another shithead, from Lotito to Di Laurentiis. So we'll see what happens. But Trim, your
Mhm.
thoughts on Di Lorenzo, and what about some outside names for fullbacks? And I probably know you're going to go this route because we're getting this a lot, and we should talk about him, but we like this guy. Bellanova, right?
Ooh.
But your thoughts on Di Lorenzo and some outside names maybe from those targets?
Yeah, so I think it's crazy to me how divided the fan base is when they heard the news about Di Lorenzo. Like, a couple things to take into account. Okay, the team he plays for, I understand. He's the captain of that team. It's our rival, one of our rivals. I don't even know. Do we consider them a rival? Are they even up there? Probably not. But anyway,
No.
for me, like, there's still a good player there. Like, 25 million, that's something that I'd have to consider and be like, okay, I don't know. I think that's a little too much. But if you're telling me he's available for 20 and we could stick it to Napoli and specifically De Laurentiis, I'm all on board. And everybody's like, oh, the people who are against Di Lorenzo are saying he gets cooked on that side. His last good show of form was at the Euro. Well, Napoli won the Scudetto last year. He played fairly well. actually really
He
well
was
last
actually
year.
one of
And
the
then
top fullbacks in Europe
yeah. And
last
then
season.
this year, they were a tire fire. So you can't just flip flop one way or another and say he's top after winning a Scudetto. And then this year he's a flop just because the whole team was a tire fire, right? So for me, still a good player there. And I've always kind of stated it in this way. If you're telling me we can get Di Lorenzo and push Danilo to a bench spot and he can come in as either a sub center back or a sub right back, and it opens up so many possibilities for us, even with the amount of games we're playing, just having that depth, another leader being brought into that team, or our team, sorry, like that's huge for me. So I think it's a no-brainer if we can spend 25. I'd have to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
In terms of the other options, I do like Dorgu from Lecce. I do like Mazraoui as well. And then, yeah, like Joey Cap mentioned, Bellanova. Like, if there's any way we can pry him out of, he's owned by Torino, is that right?
Torino owns him now on a
Yeah.
7 mil purchase.
Oh man, if there's any way we can pull that guy out and have him and Cambiaso on opposite sides, Jesus, we'd be
Yeah.
cooking. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
would be sick.
it's interesting. Like, this is amazing. 50-50 on this poll. 50% right down the middle. I've been watching
for the
it. It's
deal,
like 48 to 52%, 52 to 48%, going back and forth. It's at 50-50 right now, deadlock. And you're looking through the comments, and it's just all over the place, right? Like, Di Lorenzo wasn't very good last year, but that was like most of Napoli players. Some concerns about age, length of contract, you know. Mark, 31 years old, would depend on the contract. He would have zero resale value in 3 years' time. I'm on the fence. Di Lorenzo is a captain. We lack that kind of figure and the squad. I'd be willing to add an extra $5 million just for that fact. I think he could help this team a lot. Matteo Camisa, I'd love Di Lorenzo, to be honest. Brings in depth and competition within the team. You know, I think, I mean, the price, 20 to 25. What are you getting for 20 to 25, though? Because, like, I get it. He's 31 years old, going to be 31 years old. What are you going to get for 20 million euros? Like, there's a significant drop there.
But I think, is Villanova worth more than 2025? If you actually start looking into him, I don't feel like he is. I think like 25 is a fair price for him.
Yeah, based on right now,
Torino.
because there's so many question marks. Like, he just looks like a player with high potential, and that's
right,
what he is, right?
Yeah.
Torino, we can work with Torino. We can work with Torino, despite, you know, that inter-city rivalry and everything. We can work with them, and we have. And we pull players. Players will always be key. Players will is always going to be key. Coop Miners, that could be the ticket for us there. We have to wait and see. But the fullback situation, some interesting names for sure. Mazraoui, I wouldn't mind as well. And he's been linked with Juve for a couple seasons now. Let's see what happens. But it's interesting on the Di Lorenzo talks. We talked about, obviously, what's going on there in Napoli with Conte and everything. And I had to smack a little bit of sense into Luca there in the team chat there when he pulled up the fact that, that's it for Conte with me because now he's gone from Inter to another rival. And I said, excuse me, where did he go? Did he just go to Milan? I thought he was going to Napoli. He's like, yeah, I went to Napoli. I was like, if you ever call Napoli our rival again, I'm going to literally fly to Quebec there and slap you myself, okay? Don't ever do that, okay? Don't ever do that. Don't ever go full Luca, everybody, okay? Don't ever do that. Now, Conte going there, guys, we love our wagers here on the AJC. Everybody knows that, okay? So, do we start the wager on how long this time bomb with him and Di Laurentiis lasts?
Christmas Day. Like, he will not make it to December 25th. There's no way.
So Triv's hammering down he doesn't make Christmas. Omer, does he get through the season?
December is my guess. I mean, could Di Laurentiis have found anyone more stubborn than him? There's a bigger chance Di Laurentiis leaves than Conte stays. He'll do whatever the fuck he wants over there.
Can you imagine Di Laurentiis sells the team because Conte? Oh, man. I'm here for it.
I really hope. I really hope that's what will happen.
End
Look,
of winter Mercato when he doesn't get his requests or whatever, and they butt heads. I don't know, man. Like I cannot see that partnership working. And if you need a symbol, take a look at how this thing wrapped up. You know what the final details were? The final details were the escape route for Conte. Okay? How's that for starting off on a right positive foot? The final details were how he gets out of said contract with Napoli. It was the escape plan and it was the severance package in it. That was literally the details that were holding up the deal. Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic move for them. Oh my God. But we all know, though, being realistic, Conte in one competition is trouble. They're going to sell a big player, get a lot of money. They'll fuel him in the Mercato. It could be a very interesting scenario there for the season. But overall, you won't have to worry about them very long with Conte. I can't see that working out. That is a ticking time bomb, all right? But the discussion comes up not just because of Conte, but just in general with all these guys, these ex-Juve guys and everything moving around. You got Mana and Conte going there, but we're 1 year removed from Quadrado joining those scumbags. And then you have, obviously, Alexandro, his farewell. You have Allegri, how it all went down. Now we have a legal battle because Juve's dismissed him officially yesterday on just cause. And then you have Bonucci retiring. And I've seen the comments and I've had questions asked and just say, like, where do these guys stand for you personally now with how everything went down and the removals and everything? So Quadrado, 1 year removed from Inter. You guys know where I stand. I had that video. It was hilarious how long it lasted on the main page when you search Quadrado. Just my face and Quadrado as a clown. But he ruined his legacy with Juventus flat out. I don't think we could say anything differently. It was a stupid, boneheaded move. But Alexandro, I've seen a lot of comments on people going back on Alexandro and saying, you know what? After that farewell, after his words, his videos, his social media posts and everything, I feel bad. And these fans have been saying, I feel bad for everything, I said, how I felt towards him and everything. And let's start with Alexandro and your thoughts now on him with the farewell. Omer was kind of gesturing, had some gestures there, but let's start with Trim here and your thoughts now on Sandro's farewell and your thoughts on him. And did anything change? Did you have those same sentiments?
I don't know if anything changed per se, but what I would say is like I do understand why some people felt badly about kind of torching him as he was part of our club, and then you see kind of how the ending went, where he got really emotional. Like you can never question Alexandro as a Juventino, and it's funny because if you want to make a comparison to a guy like Quadrado, okay, like his situation was different. He ends up still playing for another team, and Sandro will end up going back to Brazil or wherever he's going to go. But it's just kind of how he went about it. Whereas with Sandro, like he's leaving kind of on a high in a sense. And yeah, like, I mean, I can understand why people feel badly, but at the same time, it's like, well, no, it's players move on. You just respect the fact that, he was a good soldier for us. You can't fault the player for getting the contract that he did and the salary that he made. So for me personally, I wouldn't say things have changed. I'm kind of just indifferent to it. I'm like, like I said, just pay respects to the guy. He, has tied the record with Nedved for most appearances for an international player. And just, yeah, thank you for everything and just kind of move on. And that's about it.
Okay. Omer?
I'm not gonna lie, that goal and how it all shaped up to be brought some love back. Now, in
Yeah.
saying that, it doesn't mean that I hated him because, like you said, he was a good soldier. He never complained. He was mostly available. It's not like a Ramsey case when he went to play for Wales and then came back to Juve injured, then went to play for Wales again, and you just hated him because he had a huge salary and he never plays. and he's always injured. So that wasn't the case. I think in general, it was what 9 years with Sandro. I think that more than half of them he wasn't good, but some of it is not due to his fault. I do want him out. I still want him out. I don't want him to sign another deal. I think he got the farewell he deserved with a goal at the stadium and everything's fine. But I mean, we're not young. We've seen some generation change at Juve. It's not the first time we have to say goodbye to someone we really loved back in his
Yeah.
day. So it's not that big a deal. I wish it would have happened sooner. Maybe people would have hated him less. But still, that goal, that smile after the goal, the standing ovation, that was a nice way to end it, on a high note.
I I appreciate the love for Juventus. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
exactly.
So I gained all the appreciation, like I can appreciate that. I respect the fact he never complained and always gave his best. His best was lacking for quite some time in terms of where I thought the standards should be, but that was never his fault. And I said that along the way. Like, it's management's fault. He got the contracts, he signed them, he loved being at the club. He loved the money he was making, he loved the situation. Okay, sure. Nothing really changes from my perspective. But he has built this legacy. He is tied for most foreign caps, whatever, and he was a soldier. Whether the term shouldn't have lasted that long, that's kind of where I feel, just based on where our standards should have been. However, I appreciate all the kind words, the gestures, and that moment. I can appreciate that. The two years when he was balling were insane. Were just absolutely insane. And when you hit that and then you can't get it, naturally, especially at a club like Juventus, where you are constantly under a microscope, it's gonna have that effect. But I do
I have a
respect him.
tough question. I have a tough question for you. No, don't put into calculation what happened afterwards. But in that decade of dominance, who was more important to Juve's success, Sandro or Asamoah?
Sandro.
Sandro?
I think so. Over the decade of Asamoah was there for the first what, 3?
No, even more. I mean, he was a solution to a position we didn't have anyone in, like it was the Celia and Peluso,
When did Asamoah
until he
leave?
came in.
17?
Yeah, something like that.
Actually,
He
you're
came
right.
in.
16, 17,
17.
16, 17. Yeah, yeah,
16 or
yeah.
17 he left?
Yeah, he
Oh
left for
yeah, I didn't
Inter
think he
too.
was
Yeah,
there that long.
he was there for a long time,
Yeah.
and he kind of solved that issue of left back
Mm.
until Sandro and Evra came in. He
But
was the
Right.
guy.
Asamoah also, I get filling the roles because Sandro had to do that too. But that's another guy where the quality, like, of what you were getting wasn't the same as his early days with us. Like,
Mhm.
he had a drop too, and he should have been gone sooner in many fans' eyes too. I still stand firm. I think Sandro was, yeah, I think Sandro, I'd say, was more for us.
Yeah,
Okay.
like could you argue that like when Sandro came in, his immediate impact in those first few years were almost greater than Asamoah? Like, I mean, very similar
No, because
players, right?
in the first season he Evra was the main left back. It took him a
Right,
while to
right,
get
right.
into the rhythm. So he had that older guy to like tutor him, and whenever he didn't have to face the big matches, that was Evra's job.
Yeah.
True.
Um,
Yeah, it's a good point.
And he did not go to Merda, so that is a big, big
no,
plus.
I talked about a Samoa. Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
go to the mirror. Yeah, a Samoa.
Asamoah went there. Now, moving on down the line, Allegri. Feelings on Allegri. Feelings on Allegri. The dismissal, the court cases. Like, where do you stand with him now that it's all kind of said and done? Obviously, other than a legal battle, but where do you stand?
I haven't changed my mind. It's still the same. Should have happened earlier. Juve saw an opportunity as a business to fire him without paying him the amount of money he
Yeah.
wanted. If it was up to him, he would have stayed for another season.
But
So nothing changed.
how do you look at Allegri? How will you reflect on Allegri when he's mentioned?
Look, as time passes by, you remember the good stuff. Like Yaquinta was our striker during our banter, and I remember him very fondly, even though it was an awful time, and I feel like I hated almost everyone in that team. Um, so I believe, like in the long run, we look at it and remember him as a legend. The same way we look at Trapattoni's second stint and
Yeah.
Lippi's second stint. You remember the good stuff eventually.
Yeah. I Nothing changes for me. Max is a Juventus legend with a horrible second stint. That's where it ends for
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
Trim?
Yeah, like I mean, I literally every time Max is brought up, I literally just want to fall asleep and just be like, "Wake me up when we don't have to ever talk about this guy again, or at least for a short period of time." Like I want this all to go away. I want to stop talking about him. I want to move on because I just think for the fan base and for the club specifically, like it's a new era. It's like we're being reborn again. We should all be positive and happy and thinking about like the future and what's to come because the future is going to be bright, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you that right now. It's going to be bright for us. So I appreciate everything he's done, like you said, for us in Max 1.0 era, Max 2.0 complete failure. Now let's all move on. I don't want to hear people talking about like he's a true Juventino, this and that. It's like his chapter and his this book is closed, and now it's time to open a new book and start a new chapter.
Yeah.
In a couple years from now or a few years from now, whatever, after he disappears and goes away and he does something else or whatever, then you get those old memories of, the success and, everything that he had brought to the table and what he's done for us. And then we can kind of relive those memories. Maybe they put him in the Juventus Hall of Fame, all that kind of stuff, right? And then just go from there. But for now, it's like every time he's brought up, I'm like, just a knife is getting stabbed into my chest. I'm
Uh,
like, okay, it's done, man.
I
I'm
can't
done
think of
with
it
it.
that way. He's still a legend. He's still a legend.
No,
But
yeah, but I just want to move on. That's all. That's my
oh, we're
point.
we're moving on. We just need those signings. We just need
No,
some pen to
it
paper.
feels like it just feels like the actual end of that dynasty who won
Yeah.
nine Scudetti because we still had
Yeah.
some players left, and now Bonucci and Sandro, and the only ones left are De Sciglio and Rugani now, and they weren't a
Now,
big part of that success.
but now we had the last member of the BBBC to retire, Bonucci,
Mm-hmm.
a polarizing figure. All right,
Mm-hmm.
very polarizing figure. How do you reflect on Bonucci? His playing days done now and everything, and obviously the goodbye was brutal. He had a long interview we covered on our socials there and everything, and said some interesting things. Obviously spoke about Max and said, "Hey, I'll say hi to him if I see him out, but I ain't calling him and inviting him anywhere." So,
Shock.
how will you reflect on Bonucci, Trim?
So for me, it's funny because yeah, like skimming through that little interview that he had, I mean, everything that he said seemed very political in the sense of like, it's a guy that kind of seems like he has his tail between his legs a bit on how everything went down. He made mention to how he left last season and wish he could have done it differently and all that kind of stuff. So like I don't know. For me, Benucci, like I understand the history of what happened with him and whatnot, but it's the same thing. Like he's a big part of our history with a lot of positivity and winning and good things. The negative side of things when he left and went to Milan, came back, all that. His beef with Max, like I get all that, but see, I was gonna say this is an example of what I mentioned with Max, what he should do. Just go away, get out of all that stuff with the media. Like I know he was trying to take us to court last year and it was all that, but like clearly the guy realized he went about it in the wrong way. And now he's kind of like I said, just trying to save face. You hear him mention about one day he hopes to be behind the bench at Juve in some capacity. He didn't say head coach. It could be just like a secondary coach, defensive coach, whatnot. Which I know you mentioned that you think Al, you mentioned that you think you can see him being a really, really good coach.
I think he's gonna be an excellent coach. I really do.
Yeah. And I see
I
it too,
think
right? I
players will
mean,
hate him.
those three guys on that back line, you could argue all three of them can do well in coaching management, like they have it. right? So yeah, for me, it's just more of like a guy reflecting on his career now because he went away and now it's like his time is done and yeah, like that's it. Just
Uh,
you know,
Bonucci, like, oh my God, man. Like, how do I put it into words what I think about Bonucci? Like, I can't separate the legacy because he does have a legacy with Juventus. All the members of that decade of dominance have a legacy with Juventus, period.
yeah,
Um, I I also respect like the just the human side of him that he can't really turn off. Like he's made mistakes. Oh yeah, he's made mistakes. He's said a lot of shit. Said a lot of shit. Should have been removed from a microphone on many occasions. However,
yeah,
I also like kind of respect the fact that like he never held back and he always said and always acted on what he believed was right. We may not personally agree with what he thought was right. We're also not involved and we're not there behind the scenes and don't know what the hell has happened. But the way that all his teammates spoke about him and still speak about him actually says a lot. It says a lot. And it's one of the reasons I actually do think he'll be a solid coach. The guys he's played for, seeing the contrast in the guys he's played for, the teams he's been a part of, the champions he's been with. Yeah, I I have respect for Bonucci, but fuck, he's made a lot of mistakes, and it kind of takes. I need more time to go back to being like, okay, you know, I've put away some of these errors, some of these mistakes, and some of the bullshit because the handling towards the end was brutal on all accounts, not just Leo's, but Max's and the club as well. And kind of ironic, Max got the same treatment in the end, you know?
hmm,
Sometimes what goes around comes around, people. But Bonucci, I actually do respect him. And I'll never forget the good memories like with Leo and that crew. Holy Christ, unreal, unreal.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
he wears his heart on his sleeve and he lets it out there. I'm surprised. Like I would have thought this guy's Abruzzese, but you know, coming from the Lazio region, because he's very similar to someone we know in terms of always saying what's on his mind. But Omer, shout out to Reno there, our boy. Shout out to Reno. Omer Bonucci.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself, so I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I feel exactly as I feel towards Max. And towards everyone who were in that period, Agnelli, Nedved, all those guys, we had some great times with them, and we enjoyed having them on the team, and they'll definitely be in our memories for a long, long time. But that second stint was horrible. I feel exactly the same as I feel towards Max. It should have ended a lot earlier. To be honest, it shouldn't have happened at all. The
Yeah.
2.0 version of Bonucci. And I think he's a great player to have when things are going well, his mentality and everything. But where things are going bad, I don't think he's a good player for the locker room to be the captain, whatever he was. Yeah, I look like Bonucci. It's been a while since I heard.
It's a combination of Chiellini and Bonucci. It's
And
like we
Yeah,
got the
Bonucci, yeah.
BBC,
yeah,
and you know the facial kind of like
yeah,
Buffon. It's like we got the BBC all in one here. You know.
yeah. I'm the love child of Chiellini and Bonucci. After that Euros, they conceived me. Uh, Yeah, so that's how I feel about him. He had a great stint at Juve. The second one, not so much. Wish it would have ended sooner, so we didn't have that whole debacle afterwards. If it, I feel like he would fit in right at home and in the '90s, and then he wouldn't have come back anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, like man, I don't know. Bonucci's always this weird thing. And like Roche saying, why do Juve fans not respect Bonucci? Surely him going to Milan can't be the only reason. Remember, we won, 9 Scudetti with him. And I, yeah, I don't know. I have respect for Bonucci. I always will. But there's a little bit of a tainted legacy, let's say. A little bit of a tainted legacy. That's the only way we could really put it. Now, one last thing before we get to Storm the Barn. You can start getting your Storm the Barn questions in. I've highlighted the ones that came earlier in the chat. And a reminder to everybody, like the video. Okay, this has been a really, really fun session. Great one for Trim to be joining us. Having a lot of fun today. But this one got some fans fired up. Okay, and it's Juve re-entering the ECA and basically bowing out of the Super League. Okay, and obviously we had PSG's president come out and state that Juventus will be welcomed back in, and that's what they're doing. So you've got quite a few fans that are pissed and saying, well, there's our spine, like whatever, giving in to everything and whatnot. And you have those that say it makes complete sense. I want to know where you guys stand, and we're going to start with Omer. How do you feel about it?
I get both sides, and like the spine thing and whatever. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I wish Juve could have, stayed in the Super League, but it's been 4 years since the Super League was announced. The project hasn't progressed, just one bit. And yeah, I don't like it, but it's in Juve, the club, best interest to lay low, because we've been taking the shit for that Super League more than anyone else. No one had to endure what Juve had to endure because of that Super League project. And you know what? We're going back to the ECA. Figure it out when you have a concrete idea and something is actually happening. Then we'll talk again. Right now, it's in Juve's best interest to lay low, go back to the ECA, and ride it out. That's where I stand.
Yeah. Okay. Trim?
Yeah, like I mean, I can't really top what Omar said, like, because I agree wholeheartedly with what he said. What I would do is just add like a little cherry on top. Are like the question that I have is, as Juventini, are Juventus fans really that horned up or geared up to like want to be one of the founding members of Super League? Because if you are, then like to me, it's just silly. Like this doesn't mean or signal the end of Juve joining the Super League. It just means exactly what Omer said, which is we need to lay low. People are already complaining and saying we have enough court cases and crap to deal with, especially now with this Allegri stuff being brought up about him, challenging the dismissal and whatnot. So it's like, it just, again, as a fan and kind of just being neutral, you can see both sides of it, but the cherry on top is I could care less if Juve is one of the founding clubs of the Super League, but they can still end up joining it if it goes through. And that's it, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
It's, if it gets going, you guys are both spot on. If it gets going, it's not like Juve can't leave the ECA and go in there. But so far, we have been the only ones. And like, if shit hits the fan again, what did those guys do for us? What did being a part of that do for it? Did nothing for us at that time.
Exactly.
So if it fires up, great. Then we can revisit it. But right now, there's no need for Juve to bring any type of extra attention to itself. There's no need for that. Okay? Absolutely none. So we move on. And it is what it is. We are not in the position of power. We're not. That died in that first stint when we went all in with those guys, and then we got absolutely shattered. And they all made out fine, and they're doing their thing. But now, sorry guys, you can fight that fight on your own. We've got our own shit now to deal with, and we'll revisit it later on. Like 100 other teams will, essentially. Because if you think that there's not clubs that are sitting there waiting, trying to figure this out, they are. Everybody's just waiting to see what happens, all right? But you guys nailed it on the head there. Reminder, everybody, get those likes up. Let's go. Storm the barn. We're firing away. We had an early one come in from Sev. When does the Club World Cup money kick in? Will we see that for this Mercato or maybe the winter? No, you'll see it on the next financial reports for the following, like for the upcoming season. It's not going to affect this Mercato.
There's also an issue with that too, because 3 leagues, La Liga, Serie A, and the EPL, I've all sort of confronted FIFA about it. They don't really want it. So that thing's now, it hangs in the balance right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Mm.
not guaranteed that it will happen.
Yeah. How are we going to replace MTS?
Just bring a pigeon in to replace
Where's
him.
that peacock, Omer?
The
Jesus.
peacock, yes.
Oh, yeah. I'll get some laughs for sure.
Jesus. He's not even a real human. Okay? He's not even
Yeah.
real. I'm convinced by this. All right? Latest updates on Fede Chiesa. Okay, Swarit. So there are no updates other than the same. We're waiting on a 1-year bridge renewal. The fact that he could still potentially be put on the market is still a possibility. Now, Trim has heard this a million times because Sev and I go at it all the time. Okay, all the time. But in that chat, and Omer's been a part of it. He's seen it. Okay, look, for Fede Chiesa, I say he's on make or break season coming up. Okay, coming up, he is on a make or break season. The excuses have to stop. I don't want to hear about out of position. I don't want to hear about any of this. You are either a baller or not, because Sev tells me he is elite. I say he has not been elite. He can be elite, but he has not been elite. For me, if you're elite, you deliver. And production, we get into a battle over production. For me, yeah, the production is going to count. It has to count. It's a measurable. And if you're elite, all that shit goes out the window. Out of position, all this, where no, like you either deliver or you don't. So if we're saying that 8-9 goals a season, he got 2 assists this season in Serie. If we're saying that that's good and that's up there to be top dollar, highest earner at Juventus, I am going to respectfully disagree. Chances created and all this and the intangibles, I get it. That is a part of it too. But if you want to be the top earner, it has to be more than intangibles. This is the same that I applied to rabiot earlier in our discussion. Intangibles don't count for shit for me. I need more. I need consistency. I need you to not disappear for 4 months of the season. 4 months of the season. I can't have that if you're elite and you want to be a top earner. And Dusan Vlahovic kind of faced that too. But he came out of it. And what I said stands. It's hard. It was hard to gauge these guys through this season because it was such a shit show. But now is not the time for us to move Fede Chiesa, because quality has to be our top priority, and the strongest possible starting 11 should be our top priority. I'm sorry, today we got more rumors of Mason Greenwood being approached by Juventus. No. Loriente, Berardi, Goodmanson is not a good man. He's out. Keep Fede Chiesa. But god damn it, bring me Griezmann on 15 million euros. But there are no updates. But guys, we need more out of Chiesa, but now's not the time to move him. Agree, disagree.
Yeah, I mean, okay, disclaimer, Chiesa is my favorite player on this team right now. Having said that, he's not a world-class player. He does have world-class moments, but he's not a world-class player. And not as many of them as I would have liked. I mean, he still needs to up his game. He's not what we all think he is right now. He can be. He definitely can be. And like I said, he's my favorite player, and I want no one else to succeed as much as Chiesa at Juve. But still, he needs to do better. He's not that youngster anymore who still has time to evolve. He's 26. He's facing his biggest contract. The next contract he gets will be the biggest one he can ask for. He needs to make a statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say quickly, like I agree 100%. Like, I don't think now is the time to move him. But the one thing when this discussion comes up that nobody mentions is sometimes it's not about how talented the player is compared to the rest of the roster, how he cannot be replaced, or if you go down the list of potential better players than him that we can actually acquire, can we get these guys? Sometimes it just simply comes down to fit within the locker room and within our team structure. So if he is moved, that is the reason, in my opinion. It's because we find someone else that will work better for us. Doesn't mean he's a better player than Fede, but it just means that we have found someone that works better for Motta or our structure or whatever the case may be. So I think like that's what should be top of mind for all of us fans, regardless of how you feel about Fede or not.
Yeah. Berto, did you win the Deschilio bet? I did. Pogba finished with more minutes than Deschilio. Oh, Skanga, what a loser.
What does he owe you, man? What is he? So what was the prize? I forget.
I have to, man, that bet was made so early in the season. I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at what the wager was. If not, I'll just make something completely up. Skanga won't remember. He's like 95 years old.
Because the bet was made before Pogba was suspended.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when he was suspended, Anthony was, he was giving Berto the shit because he was definitely going to win. But turns out,
I remember that vividly.
Yeah, the shitter is inevitable, man. Like Thanos.
Unbelievable. Which club will Osimhen be going to? What are we thinking?
I think Chelsea or Arsenal, one of the clubs.
I see him going to Chelsea. I think he's going to Chelsea.
Yeah, like I mean, there were shouts for PSG at one point, but if they're going all in on Kvara, then it's EPL for me, and it's Chelsea.
Yeah. And here's the thing too: is the thing about Chiesa is he is a game changer. He could be playing for 89 minutes, but could score at any point. I get that, but at the same time, when it doesn't,
how many times does it happen?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is how many times are you breaking games up? Like 9 goals and 2 assists doesn't mean you're breaking up a lot, to be honest. And I will throw this in there because I threw it in Seb's face. He only scored 1 goal against like a top club in Serie this season. A bunch of those goals were like Sassuolo. He scored 1 against Bologna, I think. I think that was the only team in the upper echelon that he scored against.
What about the extra effort run against Empoli? The keeper dives out of the box. He got around him. He just that extra last gasp, just kicked it. Then he falls on the
Empoli.
Phenomenal.
Empoli. So again,
great.
Chiesa's on make or break. I love the guy. I'm rooting for him. Don't get me wrong, everybody. This is not like a anti-Chiesa thing. I love Chiesa. I'm rooting for him.
Not.
Yeah.
And there are tons of excuses to be made for why he hasn't performed.
Yeah.
And they are justified out of position, Allegri, tactics, injuries, blah, blah, blah. A lot of reasons. That's why I don't want him sold. I want him to stay at Juve till he's 40. I just want to go around and tell people how proud I am of that Juve player that I had so many high hopes for. I want him to live up to those hopes so I can be proud of a Juve player.
Yeah. George, who do you guys hate more, Merda or Madrid? It is extremely close, but Merda for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
To be honest, I don't hate Madrid that much. Like there are a lot of other clubs I hate a lot more, but with Inter, I mean, there's no discussion.
Yeah, I hate Madrid, but not to the depths or levels of Merda. Like it's not even close. It's not even close. Like
direct rival within your continent, a country, or whatever. Like like Serie A, it's Inter hands down.
Oh yeah, they're scumbags. And by the way, very, very interested in what's to come in this new Plusvalenza case with Roma and Inter over 21 moves since 2017 to 21, or maybe it's 12 moves. I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure something's gonna happen there. Okay. Who is your guy in the team? Doesn't have to be one of the stars. My guy on this team, it's gonna... Okay, After this season, probably Cambiasso. But after next season, it's going to be Fagioli. Fagioli, you heard it here now, June 2nd, okay? Fagioli is going to have a breakout season for the fucking ages, everybody, next season. Like, bank it, okay? I don't usually say bank it. That's Skanga's thing. But I'm telling you, you guys, bank it. Bank on Fagioli to go fucking AWOL next season, okay? Bank on it.
And
But right now, it's
and he
Cambiasso.
had a great interview. Great interview. He was very open about everything that happened. If you
Yeah.
haven't read it, go
That
read
is
it.
another reason why I think, like,
Mhm.
because you're spot on, Omer. That interview was incredible. And I thought, like, while I read that thing, by the way, Lou does an incredible job and Omer as well. They covered it in full on our Twitter. The weight that must have been lifted off this kid's chest to now be able to talk openly about it and everything he shared and whatnot, and watching him play, even if they were meaningless games towards the end of the season, like, if you look back to the games he was playing while he was in those struggles, remember that minor mistake that we were scored on, and then, like, he broke down and we're like, what are you crying for? You know what I mean? And then, like,
Yeah.
then everything that unfolds and you're thinking, holy shit, now it makes sense. But to have that off of him and just watch how free he was, and next year, I have no doubts this kid is going to break out. It is going to be an incredible season. But right now, my guy is Cambiasso on this team. So with that, Omer, who's your guy on this team right now?
Well, after everything we said, it's still Chiesa. Chiesa is still my favorite player on the team. I would like nothing more than Chiesa to be what I hope he would be. So who was it here? Someone in the chat was really angry. We sort of shit talked about Chiesa, but we didn't. We said we loved him. We just want more. Don Valentino. We don't hate Chiesa. We love him. He's my favorite player on the team. I wish he'd have the best season ever, and he'll stay. That's my guy. Close afterwards, it's Cambiasso and Bremer for now.
Yeah. Trim, who's your guy?
So this doesn't stipulate if it's on the field or off the field. So if we're going, who's my guy? I'm going to bang this drum right now. I am the Thiago Motta's #1 biggest supporter guy. We're going to build the statue ASAP. He's my guy for sure. But if I had to say on the field, on the current roster right now, I would most likely lean towards Cambiasso. Although I am wearing a Chiesa t-shirt, he's still my guy. I really like everything about the way Cambiasso plays. I think his versatility is really big for us. He may not score goals, but he sets up a lot of plays. Just his technical ability is really, really refreshing to see for a guy that was on loan at Bologna last year, and we were really unsure about him and what he would bring. And this year he kind of just took the bull by the horn, so to speak, and took off. But that being said, if we revisit this question a year from now and we're sitting here and we sign this player, my guy will be Coop Miners. And I know we talked about names on kits and possibly for next year's kits not getting any names, but I'm going out on a limb right now. If we get Coop Miners, he's going on a kit, hands down.
Coop.
Yeah.
That's a lot of letters. That's a big name. Usually the long names on a kit's tough. Like
It's
a
too much,
Lichtsteiner.
Yeah.
I need a Lichtsteiner kit, by the way.
Oh, definitely.
Oh man. Don Valentino. Take
Calling
it
me
easy,
out
man.
already? It's my first live and the guy's calling me out already.
Okay,
It's
so
okay.
you misunderstood a comment earlier, Don Valentino. It said he is world-class capabilities, but hasn't been producing at a world-class. That's the difference. That's the difference.
Nah,
So,
all good.
It's okay. It's a misunderstanding,
Yeah, all good.
but you're free to do
All
what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Predictions for the Juve guys with the Azzurri in the Euros? Will they play well? Oh yeah, I think Cambiaso can be utilized in the middle of the park there as well. To be honest, looking at that list, I mean, Ricci, Foloroncio, whatnot, I'm going to trust him over these guys 100%. What are we talking about? In terms of Chiesa, well, they better hope he does well. Because, yeah, if Chiesa's not cooking, yeah, it's going to be tough sledding. And it's already tough sledding. I think Chiesa will do well. I'm still curious to see if they play 3-4-2-1 or if he goes 4-3-3 because I've seen both listed as the lineups there. But I think, I think our guys are going to do well. I think Cambiaso obviously not shown on the starting lineups projected, but he's going to do well. I think Cambiaso is going to get more than enough in rotation at several positions that I think he'll find his way. Fagioli, oh yeah, if he gets in there, Fagioli will do well. I have no doubt these guys will put in good showings. What do you guys think? Trim.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with Skanga, man. I'm going, you know what? To be the champ, you got to beat the champ, man. We're winning this thing. I don't know how they're going to do it,
Whew.
but they're going to figure out a way. I think we're getting it done. I know it doesn't look I know Omer's does not feel the same way I do, but I don't know. Something about the national team when it comes to tournaments. Like I was going to make a point of with Chiesa specifically too. Like I know we mentioned about for Juve he's got to step it up, but sometimes these players they go to these international tournaments and wearing the kit of their nation and they just become like out of this world. And I really think Chiesa is going to step it up and play really well for the Azzurri,
Yeah.
especially if they can get him on the left hand side and maybe put an Orsolini on the other side. Like I just think those guys down the flanks are just going to terrorize some of these teams.
Ah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. But no, I think our guys are gonna show well for Juve and for the Azzurri, and I think we're winning this thing. I'm going for it. I know Matteo is on board with me. We're winning this damn thing.
All right. I hope you're right. Omer?
I don't know what to make of this team yet. I haven't seen it play enough and consistently. It's not like the previous Euros where we had like 30 game unbeaten run or something, and we knew what we're going to get, and we had high hope for them, and they delivered. What I saw from this team right now in the previous, what was it, March, the international break, it didn't
Yeah,
go so well, and a lot of imbalances in the team. I don't know what's the best defensive combination we have. There's a lot of good options, but I have no idea how they're going to play. Three at the back, four at the back. How many credit will the older underperforming guys will get, and how much the youngsters? I really don't know what to make of this team as of now. I hope they'll shut me up in the first game and show that they're sick and they're up for it. But for now, I'm not too optimistic.
So we got a little dress rehearsal on Tuesday with Turkey, Chiesa versus Yildiz. Um, yeah, the Azzurri. It's gonna be interesting to see. Like, there's just this not a lot of time. Spalletti moving in and everything, and then this big unknown with going to three at the back because of the clubs and how they play and trying to match up with most of those guys. It's very, very tough to really predict. But the weird thing about the Azzurri is that they're usually like a slow starting team in tournaments. But this
yeah.
group, it's not going to be forgiving if you get off to a slow start. Like you can't. So they got to be guns blazing right out of the get go. Let's see in the dress rehearsal. Number one, what Spalletti's intentions are going into that tournament, but he's got some, like, he has decent flexibility. You've got some outliers there that can create some interesting scenarios for the Azzurri, like a Bellanova, like a Cambiaso, etc. That could be these kind of wild cards. You've got an issue that's been an issue for a while that all of a sudden might not be one. Scamacca's been red hot going into the right time of year, okay? And you have Retegui, who was scoring goals for the Azzurri. he's got like goals almost every time he's in there for the Azzurri. So it'll be interesting to see. You got Chiesa starting to look like the Chiesa we know and want to see all the time towards the end of the season. We'll see what happens. The midfield is it's going to be interesting, but with Jorginho, I think he has to be in there. And then you got Barella, Pellegrini. Well, he's what I always said he was. I like Pellegrini. I like Pellegrini a lot. He is a streaky individual, though. De Rossi comes in, he's red hot, but then fizzled out again. And some are saying he shouldn't even start. There's a lot of question marks around the Azzurri. Ultimately, they got to prove it, but this team's so funny around tournament time because, man, they could just put it together and go on a run. Donnarumma set to start. Many were calling for Vicario. Hey, I don't have a problem there in the keeper there. Acerbi out, the back line. Should we be going 4-3-3 despite the clubs and the majority of those guys being 3-4, 3-5-2s back home? What do you guys think?
That's the issue. That's the issue I have because
Yeah.
if you look at who's the best center back in the team, like the guy who's been around the block, it's Bastoni.
Right.
But honestly, I think that he tried him in the past, not only him in a four-man back line, and it didn't work. Like, gun to my head, if I have to pick two, it will be Buongiorno and Calafiori, just because of their
Yeah.
defense, of their tactical ability to move between positions and play different ways. And if you look at stats from the league this season, I mean, Buongiorno tops all of them, interceptions, whatever. And Calafiori is so smart and is this ball advancing defender that we could really use. But no one would try that. Even I wouldn't try that in a tournament like the Euros. I wish we had more time to prepare to figure it out. And these guys are still young, and I don't want the whole burden of Italy on their shoulders. I prefer someone who's had a bit of experience. So, like, I can't find the right combination. But yeah, Bastoni is definitely playing. It's hard for me to leave him out. I would even go with Buongiorno, Bastoni, and Calafiori on the left.
Yeah. I want to see a 4-3-3. However, I'd be okay with a 3-5-2, but hear me out because I know everyone's going to say Chiesa. Oh, why? I'd put Chiesa on the right side of Scamacca. Still a 3-5-2 because DiMarco is going to be bombing in a 3-5-2 from the left, and it would essentially make a trident there. And then you have Pellegrini ahead of two midfielders. Or you even just have Jorginho in the heart with both of those guys. You don't necessarily need a 10. You can have Pellegrini and Barella coming out of the midfield. That's probably what I would do. Keeps more people in favorable scenarios for themselves. But it's going to be interesting to see. We've got a couple of previews, like I said, Turkey, and then they have Bosnia. So we'll definitely know very, very soon what Spalletti's plans are. Guys, I think we got time for one more Storm the Barn, but do you guys have any questions that came out of this whole discussion and everything? Trim, do you got anything for us? Are you good?
No, you know what? I think we covered everything. I'm just really curious to see kind of, for me, it's right now the time of the year is Mercato, and just kind of see, like, let's get some stuff rolling here. Let's get some stuff wrapped up. Hopefully Motta tomorrow or Tuesday, it sounds like. So let's just get that all, settled in, the fine print, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And let's get Coop in here. Let's get Calafiori in here. Let's get Di Gregorio wrapped up and kind of just go from there. That's pretty much it, man.
Calafiori is a must.
Yeah.
There was one more question. It was Bremer. Somebody brought it up and said, I would fund the Mercato through right here. So Shervin says, I would personally sell Bremer to fund the Mercato. Your thoughts? For me, it's an immediate no. No.
No. If there's any chance of keeping him, keep him.
Yeah. Trim?
Yeah,
Fund the Mercato with Bremer?
No, like, see, I say no because there are so many other options that will like help fund the Mercato, like in terms of like youngsters, other roster players. Like, I mean, if Motta's come out and said that he wants to keep Bremer and kind of like build with him, then there are other options. Like, that's the one thing about our team this year is because of all the up and comers that we've had and the guys out on loan that we can use to sell, and even little sales here and there, it all adds up. So
Yeah.
we can fund this Mercato pretty easily without having to spare a Bremer.
I got one thing I'm looking at from Juve going into this thing, and this is all it is. It's no lateral or backwards moves. Okay?
Yeah,
We have to make improvements. So if Bremer leaves, I'm expecting somebody of that caliber to come in and be there for this Juventus side. We cannot afford to make any moves that are not boosts or improvements. So you have to do everything in your power to keep, like I said, our main priority is the starting 11 having the best possible quality that we can, despite, and I don't give a shit about the funds and all this whatnot, because we have a lot of counterparts and a lot of guys that we could sell, excuse me, that could bring this up. We have a lot of pieces. Yes, we can't keep everybody. Sacrifices might have to be made. Sule, this would be my closing question for Storm the Barn. Because I
I have
said
one too.
earlier, Chiesa can't be put out like this season. For me, you can't sell him. Sule, he might have a case to remain based on what's going on with attacking options and everything like that. He might have a very strong case to stay. Do you think he's got just as strong a case to remain based on what's going on with offensive targets around Juventus?
No, on the face of it, yes, definitely he can stay. Maybe he needs to stay and sort of solve that issue and let go of those Mason Greenwood rumors and whoever. But there's a lot of other things to it. If he stays, someone has to be sold, and he can generate out of the youngsters. He can generate the most money. So if he stays, something's got to give. Someone else has to leave for a high price, something even close to it. Like we've talked about, if we sell Sule and Hoysen, then we don't need to sell Bremer, Chiesa, or Vlahovic. But if Sule stays, that situation might change.
Yeah.
If there's any chance to keep him and those three, then yeah, definitely keep him.
All right. Trim. Sule, does he have a case?
he definitely has a case, but again, yeah, just Omar basically took the words right out of my mouth. It just really depends on kind of who we're looking at. If we don't have to sell our more experienced guys like a Chiesa, like a Bremer, and we can get away with selling a Sule for 35 or 40 million, and
Yeah.
that'll help fund other areas of the pitch like Coop Miners, then you do it, right? That's the thing. It's nobody's denying the talent that Sule has, but we often hear, would he be a Juventus player long term? Does he kind of fit the bill, right? I mean, he's been on loan at Frosinone this year. 80% or 90% of his goals were from PKs. Not saying that he's a bad player. Well, nobody's saying that. But if it's like a stock market, his value is so high right now. He's the hot commodity. People want to buy high right now. You sell high, you sell high. You don't sell low, right? So
Yeah.
now would be the time to move him if you're going to, and if not, hey, nobody's going to complain if he stays, and then we can kind of integrate him and then just see what happens. But those same people who are saying not to sell him right now are going to be the ones that quickly turn around and say, oh, after a slow start and he stays, get rid of this guy. Why do we keep him? So it's like you got to try to really be as objective as possible and just
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, we got to put our trust in Motta and Junfli, and that's it.
It's tough to turn down that type of capital in one foul swoop, like
Yeah,
one move. Just Sule, etc. Like, had a good season, very good season for himself statistically and everything, but there's still question marks around him and everything. But we can't keep everybody. Guys are going to have to be sacrificed. Sell Sule and get Griezmann. Hey, You guys know where I stand on the Griezmann. We're all unanimous on Griezmann. 15 million euro. You make a move. You push. You
Yeah.
push to get that and make that happen. But we'll see what happens. Great session today. And look at that. Put the poll up there. Should Berto do watch-alongs for the Italy games? 95% yes. All right. We'll make it happen, okay? We'll do some watch-alongs. And maybe we'll do like a different group watch-along. Maybe it won't just be me. Maybe we'll pull some of the crew in for some of the Azzurri watch-alongs, all right? And have some fun with it as it is off-season. But great debut for our boy Trim here. Hope you had a good time, man. I had a great discussion. Live chat, fire as always. Omer, always on fire with the tanks there, okay? Love the ADP signed photo there you got in the background that you just found. He texted us in the group, I think 2 days ago, saying, look what I found randomly. And it's just a beauty piece there. Where did you even find that?
My sister bought it for me years ago, I think when I was like 14 or something. And then I tried to hang it in my room, but I was 14. I have no idea how to drill into concrete. I thought it was just, nails in. So I made so many holes in the wall that when I finally got it up, there, I said, I'm not taking it down. If my mother sees the amount of holes I made in the wall, she'd kill me. So it kind of stayed there for years, and I haven't paid attention to it. But she took it down at some time and put something else instead of it. So I just went to my room to look for something, and then I saw it in the closet. And I wow, fuck! I forgot about it. I forgot I had it. So
That's
I immediately
awesome.
took it. Yeah, I immediately brought it. That's a gift from my sister, and yeah, happy it's back.
Awesome. Nothing like finding like old little tidbits and whatever piece of
Yeah,
nostalgia from like fandom. I went back to my folks' place and like I forgot about what my dad used to do and everything, and he would record all the games on VHS, all of them. Okay, and the VHS tapes would hold like multiple games, and I went downstairs to grab some, and I took like I went to the wrong cabinet, whatever, and there they are, just still to this day. Who has a VHS player right now? Okay, anyways, he's got all of them there, and they're dated from like way back. We're talking like early 90s all the way through. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, cool stuff for sure when you find stuff like that. I will ask one last final one for fun. What's the weirdest piece of Juve merch you have? What's the weirdest item, like, or like just out there? Like, why do I even have this?
can I go and get it?
Yeah, go get it if you've
Ooh,
got
Go and
one.
get it.
Uh,
a little show and
Trim, do you
tell.
have any
Nice.
like weird or like obscure Juve merch pieces?
You know what? I'm trying to think of something, but honestly, I don't. Which is kind of funny because over the years, you think you would have picked something up just like totally obscure and like out there, but I can't think of anything. Um, well, actually, no. Okay, it's not merch or anything, but for Christmas this year, I got the Juve panettone. So I have like the
Nice.
tin for. I have the tin for it. So that's kind of obscure. And I plan to like put stuff in it, and eventually one of these days, if I ever get a shelf behind me, I'll put it up there. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. I actually really appreciate that. So that's
So we
kind of
got Juve towels in the chat. Omer
nice.
went and grabbed some. What do you got? The clock. Look at that.
This
Nice.
old
That's
alarm clock,
awesome.
which I actually used it. But my mom was on a trip to Italy, and she went to a Juve store when I was young, and she's a teacher, so she brought me like this entire collection of Juve stuff for school, like pencils and rulers and erasers, and I had them for a long time. I lost all of them now. But yeah, I had like a complete set of a pencil case with Juve stuff inside.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
We got
That's cool.
Juve bed sheets in there. Alex P also found the panettone tin from like early 2000s.
Early, nice.
Stress balls shaped like zebras. There you go. So I had somebody gift me, and it was probably the weirdest one I had was, and they brought it to my work, and it was a mouse pad, a Juventus mouse pad, but it was a mouse in the shape of the kit, the uniform, and it was like a wired mouse, and I was like, well, shit, it's wired, but I'm still using this son of a bitch. And I used it every day at work, and it was just awesome. It was just awesome. But that was
Yeah, I
probably.
need to get it going. My wife would probably kill me if this wakes her up in the morning, but I need to check if it still
Oh,
works.
that's amazing. We got to get it going. We got to get it going.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Okay.
All right, you guys.
Okay.
Great session. Thank you, everybody, into live chat. Again, reminder, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. All right. Like the
You don't
video.
want to know what's going on in here. Those batteries went through their whatever happens to batteries after a long time. No, I
All
don't think
right.
it works anymore.
There you go. We'll get it going. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. But take care,
Yeah.
everybody. As always, no matter what. Fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Ciao tutti.
Yeah.